I thought moving in with my son would bring us closer. I imagined warm dinners, laughter with the grandkids, and finally feeling safe after losing my husband. But within a year, I lost everything: my savings, my freedom, and the family I thought would always protect me. No one warned me that this decision could turn my life upside down. They said, "It's temporary." They said, "You'll be happier." But they never said, "You might lose control of your money, your health, your dignity." At 71, I walked into my son's home with trust and hope. By 72, I walked out with nothing except regret. If you're over 65 and thinking about moving in with your adult children, stop. Please listen to this story first. In the next few minutes, I'll reveal 5 brutal truths no one tells you about what really happens behind closed doors, when roles blur, boundaries vanish, and love is tested beyond repair. What happened to me is happening to thousands of seniors across the country. Don't become one of them. My name is Margaret Blake. I'm 74 years old, a retired high school English teacher, and until recently, I lived what most would call a quiet, stable life in Boulder, Colorado. I was married to my husband, Charles, for 43 years. He passed away unexpectedly one winter evening, massive heart attack. Just like that, I went from we to me. And that's silence. That kind of silence changes you. For over a year, I lived alone in the house we built together. Every room still held his presence. The smell of his aftershave in the bathroom, his reading glasses on the nightstand, the coffee mug he always used, still in the cabinet. But grief doesn't pay the bills, and being alone, especially when you're older, starts to feel heavy. That's when my son, Andrew, called with an idea. "Mom, sell the house and come live with us in Seattle. We've got the space, you'll be close to the kids, you won't have to worry about anything." At first I resisted. I didn't want to be a burden, but Andrew was so convincing. "We want this. You'll never be alone again." And truthfully, part of me wanted it too. The idea of family dinners, helping with homework, maybe even feeling useful again. It sounded like exactly what my heart needed. So, I sold our house, packed up what I could, put my life savings, over $180,000, into a joint account Andrew set up to make things easier. And I moved 1,300 miles west to start a new chapter. The first few weeks were sweet. The grandkids were excited. My daughter-in-law smiled politely. We had dinner together, watched movies, played board games. I told myself, this is going to work. But then, things shifted. Little things at first. I wasn't allowed to use the kitchen when she was cooking. The thermostat was off limits. I had to knock before using the family computer. My morning walks became too risky, and soon my days were confined to the guest room and awkward silences. Then one day, I asked Andrew about a withdrawal I didn't recognize from our joint account. He sighed, looked at me like a child. "Mom, don't worry about it. It was for the house. We're all contributing." All contributing. That's what I had become, a silent contributor, no longer a parent, not even a guest. Just an invisible wallet with a name on paper. That night, I stared at the ceiling in my dark, borrowed room, and for the first time in my life, I felt truly trapped. You see, I trusted love to protect me, but I didn't understand how easily love can blur into control. That's why I'm telling you this now, because I don't want another mother, another widowed woman, another hopeful grandparent to wake up like I did. No home, no savings, no say. If you're even considering moving in with your adult children after 70, keep listening, because the next part of my story, the financial nightmare, could happen to anyone, even you. They say money can't buy happiness, but I'll tell you something no one ever says out loud. Losing your money can steal your safety, your voice, and your place in the world. Before I moved in with Andrew, I sold the home Charles and I lived in for over 30 years. It wasn't a mansion, but it was ours. It sold for just over $280,000. After taxes and fees, I had about $182,000 left. I wanted to keep that money separate. I really did. But Andrew said, "Mom, why juggle accounts? Let's make things simple. One joint account for household stuff. We'll both have access, and I'll handle the bills." I trusted him. He was my son, my only child. Why would he take advantage of me? At first it was little things, a new washing machine, a larger couch, so everyone could sit together, and a few home repairs. But then came the bigger things. a temporary loan for his small business that was struggling, tuition for the kids' private school, a used SUV that suddenly was for family trips with grandma. Within 6 months, that account was down to under $6,000. I didn't see it all at once. It trickled away, disguised as family needs, emergencies, and unspoken expectations. When I finally asked, Andrew said, "Mom, you live here rent-free. We're doing our best. Why are you keeping tabs on your own family?" And there it was, guilt, manipulation, silence. The money was gone, and so was my power. I had no paper trail, no legal claim. I'd willingly put everything into a joint account. There was no theft, no fraud, just trust misplaced. You might be thinking, this would never happen in my family. That's what I thought too. But did you know over 90% of financial abuse cases involving seniors come from within the family? Sons, daughters, in-laws, grandkids, sometimes intentional, sometimes careless, but always devastating. Here's what I learned the hard way. Do not, under any circumstances, combine your finances with your children. Not to make things easier, not because they would never do that. Not because it's temporary. Your money, your savings, is your last line of defense. Once it's gone, so is your ability to walk away, to make choices, to reclaim your life. If you truly want to live near your children, consider an apartment or condo nearby. If you need help managing your money, work with a certified financial advisor, not a family member. And before you transfer a single dollar, consult with an elder law attorney. They'll show you how to legally protect your assets before you put yourself at risk. I didn't know these things when I moved in. I thought love was enough. But love doesn't pay the rent when it's gone. And love, twisted by pressure or resentment, can cost you everything. The financial disaster was only the beginning. Next came something worse, the slow, quiet erosion of my independence. And that broke me in ways money never could. Before I moved in with Andrew, I had my own rhythm. I woke up when I wanted, brewed my coffee just the way Charles used to, took a walk around the neighborhood, read the newspaper cover to cover, ate when I was hungry, called friends when I felt lonely. I had a life, quiet, simple, mine. But after I moved into that guest room, everything changed. At first, it was subtle. "Mom, can you not use the kitchen between 5 and 7? That's when dinner's being prepped. Hey, we're doing quiet hours after 9 for the kids. Could you keep the TV volume down? You shouldn't walk alone in the mornings. It's too cold and the sidewalk's uneven." Reasonable requests, and at first. But they added up. Soon, I wasn't allowed to cook for myself. My walks stopped. My routines unraveled. Andrew began tracking when I took my medication. His wife left reminders about my sugar intake on the fridge. I had to ask for a ride to go see my friends, and after a while, I just stopped asking. The worst part? No one meant harm. They thought they were helping, keeping me safe, making life easier. But every time they helped, I lost another piece of my freedom. Until one day, I stood in my own doorway and realized I didn't feel at home anymore. I felt like a guest, a burden, a shadow on someone else's schedule. Psychologists have a name for this. They call it dependence-induced decline. Studies show that when older adults lose autonomy, especially suddenly, it doesn't just hurt their mood. It accelerates depression, cognitive decline, even early mortality. Dr. Elizabeth Morrison, a geriatric psychologist at Northwestern, said something I'll never forget. Losing independence for a senior is like losing oxygen. They may survive, but they no longer thrive. I saw this happen to me, slowly, quietly, in moments too small to notice until it was too late. I stopped making plans, stopped calling friends, stopped making decisions, because everything felt like it needed permission. Do you think your children won't control your life? That they'll always ask first? Always listen? It starts with medication schedules, then what you eat, then who you see when you leave the house, what you're allowed to do with your day. Before you know it, you're a grown adult asking to take a walk around the block, and no one thinks it's strange, except you. Here's what I wish I'd known. It's better to live in a tiny apartment that's yours than a beautiful guest room that isn't. Even if money's tight, explore your options. Independent senior communities, shared housing with other active seniors, a small rental near your family, but still your own. Once you surrender your independence, it is incredibly hard to take it back. You may love your children, but love should never come at the cost of your dignity. And the next consequence nearly broke my heart in ways I never saw coming. The slow destruction of the relationship I once treasured most, my family. People think moving in with your children brings you closer. Let me tell you the truth, it can tear you apart. Before I moved in with Andrew, we were close. We talked on the phone every Sunday. I visited every few months. The grandkids ran into my arms like I was their favorite person in the world. We laughed, we shared stories. We loved each other from a respectful distance. But once I moved into that house, everything changed. I didn't notice it at first. Little comments. "Mom, the kids can't focus with the TV on. Could you not rearrange the dishwasher? We have a system. Please stop giving the kids snacks without asking me." Then came the sighs, the tight smiles, the dinners that felt more like meetings than meals. Andrew stopped calling me mom and started saying, "Can you not?" His wife, Claire, began referring to my guest room as that space. The grandkids knocked less, avoided eye contact more, whispered things I wasn't supposed to hear. It was like I had overstayed a welcome I was never truly invited to extend. One night, I overheard Claire say, "She's just always here. I need a break. I miss our house before it became her house too." I went to my room and cried like a child. That's when I realized living under the same roof doesn't mean sharing the same heart. Therapists call this phenomenon role reversal strain. When a parent moves in, the lines blur. Are you a guest, a resident? Are you the parent, or now the one being parented? And when those roles blur, so do boundaries. And when boundaries blur, resentment builds, not just from them, but from you. I began resenting Claire for being the gatekeeper, resenting Andrew for not defending me, resenting the grandkids for forgetting how things used to be. And they resented me right back for taking up space, energy, time, even if they never said it out loud. I thought I was helping them by being near, but I was too close, too constant, too much. After 9 tense months, I moved out. Into a small senior apartment 3 towns over. No goodbye party, no long hugs, just a ride in silence and a box of my things in the trunk. And here's the part that still aches. We never got back what we had before. 3 years later, I haven't seen my grandkids. Andrew texts on holidays, if at all. And Claire, well, I don't think she ever forgave me for being in her space, even when I was trying so hard not to be. Do you think your family is different? So did I. But even the kindest families crack under the pressure of 24/7 proximity. Different sleep schedules, food preferences, parenting styles, cleanliness, volume levels, private space, all become battlegrounds. Here's the truth. Your relationship with your children is too precious to gamble on shared space. If you want to stay close, don't move in, visit often, be present, but always have a place to go back to. Because once you cross the line from beloved parent to invisible inconvenience, it's almost impossible to go back. And what comes next hurts your body just as much as it hurts your heart. I thought being closer to family would make me healthier, less stress, more love, better care. But the truth is, living in someone else's home nearly destroyed my health. Before I moved in with Andrew, I had structure. Every morning I took a walk around the block, even in the cold. I ate meals on a schedule, managed my medications like clockwork. I stretched, read, napped. I had peace. But once I moved in, my routine disintegrated. The mornings were chaotic. Kids getting ready for school, rush breakfasts, noise. I couldn't find quiet to stretch or time to walk. Claire insisted on cooking for everyone, which meant no control over my diet. They ate late, skipped vegetables, added too much salt. My pills got pushed off schedule. My sleep, non-existent. Andrew and Claire often stayed up late, the TV humming through thin walls. My room shared a wall with the kids' playroom, constant thumping, shouting, laughter, and crying. Even when the house was silent, I wasn't at ease. I felt like I was holding my breath all the time, tense, unwelcome, afraid to disturb anyone. Within 3 months, my blood pressure spiked. I started having dizzy spells. I couldn't fall asleep. And when I did, I'd wake up gasping, heart pounding. My doctor increased my medication. By the 5th month, I developed anxiety attacks, something I'd never experienced before. I remember one night I woke up trembling, couldn't breathe, thought I was having a heart attack. Andrew rushed me to the ER. It was stress, Plain, silent, daily stress, piling up like dust you don't notice until you're drowning in it. And the worst part, no one in the house understood. They said things like, "You worry too much. Just relax. We're doing everything we can." But I wasn't asking for everything. I just needed my life back. Research backs this up. Geriatric specialists have found that when seniors lose control over their routines and space, they suffer faster cognitive and physical decline. Dr. Michael Fenster at the Mayo Clinic explains, when elderly adults move into their children's homes, we often see an immediate drop in physical activity, worsened sleep patterns, and a spike in chronic illness progression. That was me. I was a textbook example, healthy before, spiraling after. You might be thinking, well, if your kids are kind and respectful, that won't happen. But this isn't about kindness, it's about environment. No matter how loving your children are, their home is not your home. You'll never have full control. You'll always be adjusting, and over time, the body keeps the score. Here's what I wish I had done instead. I should have kept a small apartment, hired in-home help a few hours a day, visited my family often, but on my terms, kept my doctors, my walking route, my silence. Because health doesn't just come from medication, it comes from rhythm, familiarity, autonomy. And once that's gone, your body knows. Up next, the final consequence. One no one talks about until it's too late: legal vulnerability and the terrifying rise of elder abuse, even in the families that swear it could never happen. If you're over 70 and thinking about moving in with your adult children, there's something you need to hear, something no one wants to say out loud. You are never more legally vulnerable than when you are dependent on your family. I didn't know that. When Andrew suggested adding his name to my bank account for emergencies, I thought it was smart. When Claire's friend drafted a power of attorney document for free, I signed it without blinking. And when Andrew suggested putting my name on his mortgage to help with refinancing, I agreed. I wanted to be helpful, but within 6 months I had signed away control of nearly everything I owned. When I started asking questions about withdrawals, about decisions, about the antique china cabinet I suddenly noticed missing, I was met with sighs, then silence, then subtle threats. "Mom, maybe this setup isn't working anymore. You need to trust us. We're doing what's best for you. If you want to leave, where would you even go?" That last one hit hardest, because they were right. I had nowhere else to go. The house was no longer mine. The money was gone. The legal documents said Andrew had control for my own good, and I had signed every one of them myself. This is how it happens. Not with violence, not with screaming, but with paper, with good intentions, with love, twisted by pressure and convenience. According to the American Bar Association, seniors who live with family are 3 times more likely to experience elder abuse, financial, emotional, or even physical, than those who live independently. Why? Because proximity breeds access, and access without boundaries breeds control, even in good families, even in loving homes. Let me tell you about Elizabeth, a neighbor I met after moving into my senior apartment. At 77, she moved in with her son, Russell, after a bout of pneumonia. She trusted him completely, gave him joint access to her accounts, signed over power of attorney, even transferred her small home into his name to avoid probate. By the time she realized something was wrong, it was too late. Russell had sold half her antique collection, mortgaged her former home, and began pressuring her to downsize her lifestyle. When she tried to leave, she discovered she had no legal claim to anything. No house, no savings, no freedom. She told me, "I gave him power to protect me, and he used it to trap me." Do I think Andrew meant to hurt me? No. But stress, resentment, and control can turn even the kindest intentions into quiet abuse. And when it happens within a family, no one talks about it, because admitting it feels like betrayal. But silence is what keeps it going. Here's what I urge you to do. Never add a child's name to your bank accounts or property deeds. Never sign legal documents without an elder law attorney present. And never assume that love guarantees protection. Put your legal shields up before something goes wrong, because once you give up control, there may be no way to get it back. Coming up next, the final chapter, my warning, my regret, and what I'd do differently if I could go back to the very beginning. Don't miss this last part. It might just save your future. I live alone now. in a modest one-bedroom senior apartment about 30 minutes outside of Seattle. It's not much. A small kitchen, a quiet view of the parking lot, faded carpet. The rent takes nearly all of my fixed income, but it's mine. I choose when to eat, when to sleep, who comes in, who stays out. And after everything I've lost, that control feels like wealth. No, I'll never get my savings back. No, my relationship with Andrew hasn't healed, not fully. And no, I don't see my grandkids often anymore. But I can breathe, I can think, I can be. And that's more than I had in that beautiful guest room where I felt like a prisoner in my own family's home. Looking back, it's not just one decision I regret. It's dozens of little moments when I silenced my instincts. Because I didn't want to seem difficult, didn't want to question my son, didn't want to believe that love might not be enough. Here's what I want to leave you with. Moving in with your adult children may sound like the easy choice, but for many of us, it's the most dangerous one. The 5 consequences I've shared aren't rare. They're real. They're preventable. And they're happening to thousands of seniors every day, quietly, silently, behind closed doors. Financial loss, loss of independence, damaged family bonds, declining health, and legal vulnerability. I've lived all of them. And if my story feels even a little too familiar, then it's time to act, not out of fear, but out of strength. Here's what I urge you to do, starting today. Keep your finances separate. No joint accounts, no undocumented help. Protect your legal rights. Speak to an elder law attorney, even if nothing feels urgent right now. Maintain your independence. Downsize if needed, but stay in your own space. Be honest about boundaries, with your children, with yourself, with love. Don't assume your family will never change. Stress, resentment, and control creep in quietly. And if your children are urging you to move in, don't dismiss their care, but don't give up your power either. Show them this story. Start the conversation now, before it becomes too late to rewrite. Because once you lose your autonomy, it's like air escaping from a balloon. Slow at first, then sudden, then silent. Your golden years were meant to be lived, not managed. So, I ask you, what are you willing to protect? Your peace? Your privacy? Your place in the world? You don't need a mansion. You don't need a fortune. You just need your own key to your own door and the power to decide what happens next. That, my friend, is what I finally reclaimed, and it's what I hope you never have to lose. Take care of yourself. Guard your life like the treasure it is, and never, ever confuse silence with safety.